All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Let's try to make those roads less rougher. So, what I'm trying to say with Elon is he's moving around in these databases. And I know these people are computer people, but we don't know what the effect of what they're doing is. So, Elon needs some security people with him. Again, friendly security people. I'm not saying to make an adversarial situation. And then because they're moving around in those databases, I don't know who they are. Cyber Command or NSA, they need to monitor, and they're monitoring databases, but they need to monitor those databases to see if anybody's trying to get in them because they're accessing. Again, there could be a spy underneath Elon somewhere. I don't know, but that's not the only scenario, right? So I'm not here to pull punches. We don't know what they're doing. But the bigger problem is because they're messing around in that stuff, we don't know. Again, if they're not cleared, we don't know if there could be. I mean, Elon's probably susceptible a little bit to blackmail. Everybody's susceptible to blackmail to a certain degree. We don't know who they are. They've never been tested and tried. Right. So we just need to know what's going on in and around those databases as far as hackers and access, right? Well, he needs to have security people with him that can monitor, the effects of what they're doing, and to monitor what somebody might try because they're accessing it. Again, if you access that database, you can become, and they know it's you, you can become a target of foreign spies simply because now they know you have, like this proprietary access. Thank you, Larry. So that's another part of this. There are foreign spies out trying to figure out who they all are, and they already know, and they'll be targets of that foreign spy organization. See, There's a lot to do with people. Again, there's some really shitty government employees, but there's a lot to do with people that come up through the government and have clearances and things like that. Well, it's a protection feature, and they've been tested through the years. They didn't fail. Right. It's not all of them. Again, some of them pencil whipped and stuff like that. But right. But we don't know how they'll react under any circumstance that we've experienced in the government before. Right. Because they've never been there. Again, private sector is not government. Thank you, Larry. So we need to just make sure that everything's secure, even for Elon. Like what the Trump administration isn't doing, because again, they misread what the Supreme Court said about immunity and all that. It's not as big as they believe it is. Right. So you need the CYA a little bit, and then there's also civil cases. Like, So again, that's part of a CYA. And also, if you have a couple people with that team in Elon, they can vouch for them. If they're not doing anything wrong, then they can vouch for them. Again, I'm not asking for an adversarial or not recommending a adversarial security entity. Right. One that's going to help, because they have experience with government stuff. And because those databases are being kind of whatever they're doing, right? The NSA and cyber and those people should be looking in to make sure, and just detect any traffic, abnormal traffic at this point also, right? Sorry. Again, you're not CYAing. There's no way that what you did with those FBI agents and that Justice Department people is going to fly. It's just you can't do it that way. You did it, but there's going to be civil cases. Those civil cases could be heard by judges, the J6 judges. Now, you might ask them to recuse. I don't know. But again, you know, comes around, goes around sometimes, So again, nobody's recusing anymore. So they might not recuse. So you may have the biggest J6 judge because the judges are pissed off at you. They would appoint the biggest J6 judge and just sit in front of you and look at you all day while you're trying to explain why you fired people. Right. Again, you already pissed off a bunch of judges. And I don't think they would be pissed off if you actually did what Pam Bondi. Like, Pam Bondi didn't even have to do that. She just has to say she did it and take her time because people do that. I'm just telling you honestly what people do. And then she takes her time in pardoning the cases and all that stuff. Now, she'd probably look at them, but right. But some people would. It's just how you make it look clean. Well, I don't think you can actually. Those people that you just let go, and the J6 people, the way you're doing it, it's retaliation. It can't be anything else. Right. Well, they're actually golden. I don't know what Bove's doing. I don't know what he's thinking. But maybe he's been out of government too long. I don't know. Like I say, I've been out of the government longer, but so again, what I would do is I would meet with somebody that represents the agents, maybe even somebody that represents the attorneys, sit down, come to some sort of negotiated end, and then reinstate them. And then then they have the option of whatever they want to do. Well, because it's going to end in a lawsuit. I don't think the judges are going to sit on it that long either. I think they'll take that case in, expedited. I mean, you don't want to make it sound like you're requiring them to swear an oath, but right. You could just air your concerns as to why, or make it look good, or whatever it is. Right. Then negotiate an end. Otherwise, it's going to hit you down the road. And I don't know how far down the road. It could be tomorrow. The court may allow fast track. We have a ton of work to do. It just doesn't make any sense that we would encumber the Justice Department in this way. It's just there's no CYA in it. There's no covering your ass. You're doing things that leave you wide open. Thank you, Larry. It's just simple. Just get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there. You have to understand, the president could, say fire them, or Bove could say fire them, and there may be a process for that, but that's not the process. Right. And let's say you don't even give them a hearing. The reality is that's retaliation. And the message you're sending is retaliation. Even if it wasn't retaliation and you didn't intend to send a message of retaliation, that's what it is. That's what the court's going to find. Thank you, Larry. I mean, do you really want them to get paid and get their job back? Because that's probably the worst case scenario for now. In 2 years, they can impeach you for it. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but it's looking pretty bad. Well, you have to understand, Trump went from inflation, right, to I don't think I can control those prices, to, oh yeah, I might cause inflation. Now, I don't know if he's going to reverse and then there's no inflation from the tariffs, but I mean, that's to me, you're going to lose every election that you can lose. Doesn't make any sense to me. He went from saying, "I can take care of inflation. We can, but it's all Biden." I guess he didn't say it exactly. It was Biden's fault. Whatever. Right. To the point where, well, I don't know if I can do anything about this. Right. He lost people at that point, and now he's saying, "Well, you got to suffer for whatever it is," because people don't care what Trump's talking about. Again, that's only a small percentage of the people that voted you in that really care about this tariff battle, because you believe you have a way to make America rich. But to me, it looks like a way to make the government rich. And again, I'm not alone, so I'm letting you understand what's going on. I mean, you're not deceiving people. So, you can do some damage for 2 years. People will get you back for it. They're even talking about some elections next year that they believe that could flip. All right, I guess maybe that is a 2 year. Yeah, it's a 2 year. Right. Yeah, the elections are next year. The ones that. So again, I mean, you're not gonna. You got to do something before. Again, let's get back to. Let's say it's just a regular. You're doing nothing. Let's say you're not doing anything wrong. Let's say you did everything perfect. What is traditional? What is traditionally that happens at the 2 year mark, or 1.5 year mark, or so? They vote in the other party. Just even if you do everything right. Right. Because see, they already because they already want to vote you out. So yeah, I'm hoping that the tariffs are just to negotiate something, and then you pull them off. Certain people in Wall Street are already pissed off. Again, they're not going to speak out because you have a machine that might come against them, and they have family, and they have, houses and cars and investment accounts. So they're not going to say much. But I'm here to help you understand, right? Because we have a lot of other work to do that's going to suffer because of that. All of that stuff. Now the court could order them reemployed. And they can order them to be paid more than they would have normally made, like back wage, more than back wages, damages. And the court can do it very quick if they want to. Again, you're talking about canning some pretty big people in government. No matter what Elon thinks the government is, you can't replace them. Right. So there might be an exigent circumstance. I can't tell if I'm dealing with a sinus infection or like indoor allergens. Maybe both at this point. All right, so I got to get some medical check here. I almost did it last night, but I felt better and I went to sleep. I was going to do the telehealth. I'm not sure if I should actually take at this point, like a nasal swab and just let them look for something. Right. That way they know exactly what it is. They know what antibiotic to use if it is. Right. Well, I was fighting a nasal infection when I got COVID, or a sinus infection. Right. So I don't know if I ever beat it because, you get COVID, your body's all screwed up and you have nasal discharge anyway. Right. So I'm not sure what I think the best thing for me to do is actually to go to a doctor that would take a nasal swab. Right. Because generally if they do that, they can test different antibiotics on it, right? And find out which one works better. Or maybe they know. I don't know. Right. But I do feel like I have an infection, so temperature's fine and all that, but feeling a bit off. Probably why I was yelling at you so much. Because when you're alone, you don't notice it, Right. Thanks, Larry. But again, you are everything I said is true, pretty much, except for the stuff that wasn't. So it's funny because I said Driggs, right, and it's Driz. G. Yo, G. So again, everybody isn't the enemy. Again, Elon's does that thing where everybody's the enemy, but trying to help you through a few things. Right. Like here, I'm trying to think how to make a cup of coffee. I can't get to it. It's got to be an infection. I swear they work for the deep state. There's bacteria. It's possible, actually, when you think how metaphysics works. No, I was having I couldn't figure out what it was, and I'm like, well, remember when I told you I was just starting to clean my apartment back up. Again, it's probably an infection too, but you can get past it and get the energy for it with a cup of coffee. And that's what I think I did. I think I drank a cup of coffee right before I figured out I had COVID. So I was had the energy to do everything, right? Even though I had COVID, right? And probably a sinus infection on top of it. But again, it could be allergy driven something because, it's not the cleanest in here. And I'm trying to get the energy to do it, but I didn't sleep too well last night either. So it's just one thing after another. So again, I'm being nice by trying to help you. I'm just telling you. Again, remember all the Mueller stuff? It's going to come. Even though it's not a criminal investigation, it's just going to be like that. It's going to just wear down everything you're trying to do. Right. Well, Elon needs accountability for what he's doing. Right. Because at some point it's going to be investigated, even if it's 4 years. Right. Now, I don't know if Republicans are fantasizing that they're not going to be kicked out with what's going on. But, I have to believe that some of the Republicans know what's coming. And generally, like Lindsey Graham, he didn't have to worry about that. Nobody's putting Lindsey out. But he'll be the down party again. No, you don't have much support at all at this point. And again, if the people feel like you duped them, that's the worst thing. Because you'll get people that never vote Democrat in their life might vote Democrat. Well, I gotta tell you, certain parts of your platform didn't, that. You know what you changed to draw people in to vote for you. Right. And even when you didn't change it, there's only it's like a what do they call it? Like a boutique platform, right? Every little nuance to get you 10 votes more, you tried, right? But it involved them trusting you. So even without like hardcore people that don't really, kind of lean away from you and they're strong, opinionated, and all that, there's people that voted for you before you changed anything, right, that might just walk off. Right. Remember that one thing we did? What was it? Was it during the Trump presidency? Oh yeah, I used to be a Democrat, but because of this, right, gay people that came out of the Democrats, right, that was the first administration. You had some of that stuff going on. You could actually have stuff like that go against you, right? Well, on social media, a lot of people are there. There's a lot of hype. So you still have some people are still voting for you off of that hype. They see a colorful presentation, the audio is hypnotizing. But again, if you screw up that economy worse, I don't think they're going to be around. Thank you. I agree, Larry. And like all this other stuff that you're doing, some people care, some don't. So again, you have a lot going against you that you didn't maybe calculate. And I'm trying to help you understand that. Thank you, Larry. Well, I mean, Pam Bondi, it was important that Pam Bondi did that, with the J6. I'm not telling you not to do things. I'm just saying it's kind of a CYA thing, which means, judges are big boys, big girls, and they can deal with somebody pardoning. Right. But the way you did it, see, reckless and careless, and well, you have to understand, you may have some cases in front of these judges. Right. And everything that has gone on recently, nobody's recusing. So they probably won't recuse. And yeah, it's the goose gander thing. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And these are people that you're going to ask to see your way with the trans thing, with the immigration thing. So again, there was reason, and maybe Bove told you to do it that way. I don't know what's going on in his head. He's theoretically been in the Justice Department before. Great. So he should have known that CYA is probably the best thing to do. Because nobody fires people like that. I mean, Elon still hasn't got to the end of his court cases. So again, it may not work for even his stuff. Thank you, Larry. Again, I understand the concept but I'm not understanding the effectuation, the application. Right. Now you have to understand things like these plane crashes. If you're doing something wrong, that metaphysically that could be caused. To me, it's weird, and it looks like it could be related to people doing something to my life. Because again, that's why I'm saying look for direct energy. Because I said Springfield, Missouri, and Learjet, and I said it was specifically a Learjet. Right. And that's the plane that crashed in Northeast Philly. And again, I was being stalked by the deep state in Northeast Philly when I was, trying to figure out what to do after I left the Marshal Service. Thank you much. Thank you, Larry. So again, somebody needs to sit down with Bo from the Trump administration. What is Miss Wiles? Is she part of anything? It's it doesn't make sense that this is something that she is comfortable with. Maybe she is. Maybe she's a MAGA nut. I don't know. Right. But I think you're in the campaign mode, but it doesn't work in the government mode. So again, what I'm saying is she's the campaign person, and I don't think what you're doing is working for any type of campaign. Even if if the presidential election was held today, Harris would have a darn good shot. It's that bad. Correct. Well, again, you did a great job campaigning, but there's a lot there, a lot of promises. So again, that can turn around very quickly. Well, I think you should just meet with Bove and see if my plan would work for him. Right. So again, from Bove's side, he needs to say, I'm not asking you to swear allegiance to Donald Trump, but what we don't want is the reverse, where you destroy our programs, you destroy our efforts. Right. Thank you, Larry. And then, they essentially agree. But you screwed it. You really screwed it up. That's why I thought somebody was setting Trump up, because you can't even really fire them later. I mean, you'd have to do a lot of work to fire them. You'd have to dot your I's, cross your T's. Right. Because you already revealed a retaliation. I gotta wonder if what's her name's going to get in there now, right? Bondi, right? Because it just seems like it just died, right? Trying to figure out something here. And again, it doesn't seem like she's being respected in the latest processes, because she has to fight all this. Right. And, I'm just kind of connected into something there. And there is no defense. Right. That's why you do it a different way. I'm not telling anybody to be dishonest, but there have been dishonest people in history. Right. And essentially what they do is, they make it look good. but you didn't make it look good. Elon's trying to replicate Argentina, but it's a little bit different here. Well, it's easy to see what his personality is in relation to something like that. Right. Again, it's like a high. It's kind of a manic thing. Well, there are concerns about federal databases. The court family is in those databases, and they've sat on a lot of cases. Again, you all talk the talk. The court families actually walk the walk against, narcos and all those type of things. I mean, really, you all pardon people that they put away a lot longer. Right. And they're in them databases. The judges today, every judge today is probably every federal judge is sitting in an office with people that are in that database. I tried to explain this to you before. Well, there's no accountability. That's something they don't like. Okay, you can complain about the people that were in there, but there were inspections, there were requirements of security protocols and whatnot. Well, Elon Musk has already violated security protocols, and then you put the people on leave. That's what they call accountability of those databases. Like, the information in those databases does not solely belong to the government. It belongs to the people that the database defines. Right. So there's an agreement between the government, kind of this unwritten agreement that, they secure the data and they give the data. Right. I mean, I think you even sign it that, there's a privacy policy and all these other things. And again, there's also the idea that if I'm in the government 10, 20 years and you ask me things about, I've been in 10 years, I know what the system is. I know it's secured somewhat. So I give you that information. But now, some techie and maybe some H-1B team is having access to my stuff. That wasn't the agreement. But it doesn't mean the president can do things and can't be prosecuted, allegedly. I mean, there's things that you can be prosecuted for. Right. Just depends whether the intention, like, even though it's government business, what's the intention? Was there any valid intention in unprotecting those databases? You let uncleared people in there, with databases which the undercover DEA people are inside of. You also have in USAID, you have intelligence reports that are, like, I don't know if they're top secret. They're definitely, I guess they all could. No, they can't qualify for secret. Like, really, again, the president can appoint people. That's understood, but there's a reality to that appointment. There's a reality to the president saying they're cleared. It's not real. So when the president does that, the theory is that we could look at these people and we could see some responsibility in clearing them. So again, even though the president can do it, it doesn't mean that the court will find it a proper procedure. It doesn't say that the president can appoint John Gotti, right, to something, because the people can sue. So I don't understand. I know Bo was in the Justice Department. I don't understand what he's doing and why you're not being advised in the right way. You can do all things, but all things are not necessarily expedient. It's in the scripture. I agree, Larry. God bless you, Larry. So I'm just letting you know what's down the road. Like that whole Mueller bullshit that we went through, we had to clear out of the way before we got anywhere. They can do it with civil cases. Great. And again, there might be a criminal case off of the firings. And I don't know if again, you can pardon people, but it's not. It has to go to a test sometimes, an appeal procedure, or somebody can sue or whatever it is. But again, I don't even know if those Biden pardons are going to stand. Like, your idea is, well, Biden did it, and is like almost like a trap, because now you get to do what you want, right? But essentially that preempts checks and balances and separation of power. So you could actually probably investigate those people if you had to weigh in. Again, weigh in means you don't do anything corrupt. Again, I hope I can help Cash if he gets in there, understand. And again, there's people in there. I mean, Driz can tell you how to investigate people lawfully. He can also tell you how to do it unlawfully, but he doesn't recommend it. Right. Internal Affairs can tell you how to do it unlawfully. Right. Like, you can get into somebody's life. I said that. See, that's what I said about Trump's life. I said you got in. Strzok got in wrong, and I think Strzok tried to pull out, but then everybody else had taken it over and made it bigger, right? And he couldn't get out of it. Right. Well, it's just, again, you argue about investigating people instead of crimes, and now you're wanting to investigate people instead of crimes. So a lot like that old shit right there. Somebody's putting shit on us. We'll clear that. You made a debt. Oh, so we'll get rid of that. Trying to will me down so I can't say anything or curse you off or something. Not sure what they're looking for yet. No, for the Democrats, we don't want this shit. We don't want people to have to suffer so you can get them later. Like, if the Democrats are coming against me for helping you. Right. Thank you, Larry. It's definitely shaping up that there's going to be a lot of court battles, a lot of negative press. Well, I still think the Supreme Court is concerned that you don't really understand your immunity. And might not understand how pardons actually go when it gets to that level of pardon. Like the idea is, so you have Bove running around retaliating, but he doesn't worry because you're going to pardon him. The court may not allow that. Because now you're getting to the point, like, it's like the next step past Biden. So Biden pardons them because they committed, he probably believes that they have committed crimes or possibly committed crimes. Now, you have somebody running around the Justice Department committing crimes because he believes he'll be pardoned if it ever comes to that. What I foresee in the next 10 years is there's going to be legislation and it's going to pass. And what it's going to do is probably allow judges to bring in special counsels. That's the only way to fix the checks and balances. Thank you, Larry. That would perfect the system. But again, it's an independent counsel. It's not somebody that, it's not like a special master that reports to the judge. They're not going to be allowed to do that. Right? Just say there needs to be an independent counsel. And again, the appointment can come from someone else if that's what they want to do. Again, depending. But the judges should be able to order an independent counsel. So that'll fix the system. Because you can see the checks and balances have slipped below an acceptable level. I think the judges could build it back up without even that. But again, there'll be a process and may require, an appellate approval or something like that. But again, from what I'm receiving inside, the judges are ready. Bring it on. Come into our courtroom. We're ready. We're ready for you and your all-powerful pardon machine. So again, I'm just trying to help you. Thank you, Larry. I mean, Trump already said, move the Palestinians out of Israel. Can't fix inflation. I might cause inflation. I'm just letting you know what the public sees. First, he can't fix inflation, but now he might cause inflation, and you have to suffer for something he says will make America stronger. And now he said, what? Move the Palestinians out of Israel, give Israel back to Israel. Essentially, that's what he said. So what percentage of the vote is that? And you have to understand, when they feel you've lied to them, it's worse than just simply not delivering. I mean, Trump's not even been in a month, I don't think, right? I'm just telling you what's going on. Because I think somebody's setting you all up, like a double agent or something. Or maybe you're being influenced online, and I don't know, who it is and what you're seeing. I mean, you definitely lost Michigan. You know, and there's a lot of Arab communities in New York, again, which I don't know if you had anything in New York, right? Jersey, Georgia. There's Arabic communities in Georgia, right? Florida, a lot of our Arabic communities in Florida. I mean, they may not be even they may be like hating liberals, but they might vote against you because you lied to them. But I'd like to see the work actually take place that we said we were going to do. Right. No, I mean, what you've done already, there's going to be court cases out through probably at least 3 years, maybe 4 years. Right. Unless the Supreme Court fast tracks it. And a lot of those courts are in D.C., the January 6th courts. Right. I'm just telling you the facts. Like I said, I don't think you understand what all this stuff. Well, the thing is, yeah, Judge Cannon didn't recuse. Right. So you maybe get judges like that, but you also got the January 6th judges who don't have to recuse now. That's why you try to keep the recusal thing going in the right direction. Right. Again, at times I'm keeper of the government. Well, because it didn't pay off now. Because you are going to need judges recused, and I'm not going to recuse. Right. Thank you, Larry. It was like a setup. Thank you much. No, you're not as powerful as you think. Well, because agents aren't going to commit crimes for you necessarily. Because I'm thinking you're trying to, like, you do what we say and that's it. Because, as long as they're okay with maybe being out of the FBI for a while and not having, maybe the income from the FBI, all they got to do is wait for their court case to end once you fire them. Right. Well, they'll probably have a chunk of change and probably will get reemployed. So I'm not sure all that you're doing. I'm just kind of throwing that out there on how it looks and what court cases could come up from it. And then there's, Republicans that aren't MAGA that sit on the Supreme Court. You appointed them, but that doesn't make them MAGA. Right. I mean, maybe Clarence Thomas and Alito to a certain degree are MAGA. But again, that's 2 votes. That's not much, is it? And we've seen that split, right? Right. And I've already received from Clarence Thomas, make sure Trump knows that I can't help him in a lot of this. Because he's only 1 vote. Right. So Clarence Thomas projects, and I don't know if he knows he does. Right. So he projects, and I'm one of the few people that receive. Thank you, Clarence. And I can see Roberts. They're just waiting. Because nobody's brought Biden's pardons to the court yet, or any of the pardons. They're just waiting. Because you're going to have to argue how that's not defeating checks and balances. Right? The pardon process was a certain process for many years. You're definitely outside of that process. So even if it wasn't a defeating of checks and balances, this is, what were the framers' intentions? Probably something along the lines of Pam Bondi. Well, I'm going to look at each case. So if you pardon somebody and you retaliate against investigators, that makes those pardons a form of retaliation also. Again, I'm just telling you, there's no CYA in what any of you are doing. And it's not the system you think it is. And you don't have the immunity that you think you have. You have a lot of immunity. And you may still be within that immunity. But you're doing reckless things. Correct. And that can cause you to be outside that immunity. And again, I mean, an actual argument could be made. There is evidence that Rove committed a crime, and I don't know if it's tied to the president or not Rove, Bove, is it? Right, Bove. And that crime was done for criminal purpose. It's an administration of government, but it doesn't mean that it's an administration of government purpose. Retaliation is not a government purpose. So if it's found that, and again, it looks like 100% retaliation, and that retaliation is there to send a message. And retaliation is not government business. You understand that? Even though managing personnel is government business, you don't have 100% coverage because retaliation exists. So is that government business or is that retaliation? And this thing where you want people to swear an oath, really, I mean, that's what can be argued in court. I'm just showing you. You can lose your immunity. We agree. Again, in 2 years, Well, the House, and maybe that too. I mean, there may be steps that they have to go through, but the House, like the two other departments, because really, if you order an investigation and step away from it, I don't think that interferes with checks and balances and separation of powers. Right. There may be where a legislative process, not a majority, but like a quorum of Congress people could maybe order an investigation. Again, ordering an investigation doesn't mean that anybody doing the investigation, you have to do something. But again, the judges may have it under control. Right. At least most of it. Again, I'm just looking at government as a whole, because what you did, or what was allowed in other cases, is now that benefited Republicans, is now going to benefit the Democrats. So again, we have to do something to stop the madness. But definitely, I think the judges are going to limit a lot of what's going on. Well, they're just giving you enough rope to hang yourself. So there's already a bunch of cases that they're sitting on. Right? Democrats are sitting on cases because you keep screwing up. They don't want to spook you when you walk into court and the judge goes slap, 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 like 15 cases. Right. It's already happened. I mean, the couple cases they put in, they went slap, slap. In one case, they went double slap. All right. And I'd rather us not have to go through all that. The nation, again, you speak about the nation and patriotism. That's patriotism, not taking the nation through some bullshit like that. So this guy from South Africa who has the love of money and the lust of money, and some H-1B people from India own all of our data now. And you're okay with that. I'm sure the judges aren't. Elon Musk got cases in federal court. Slap, slap. That's how it works. You're playing slap, slap. The judges are going to play slap, slap. Thank you, friend. Thank you, Larry. So again, I'd rather end the nonsense now instead of going through so many years of turmoil. I mean, you got some people out there working very hard, very diligently. I mean, obviously they don't spend 40 hours in the office, but but we might be able to look that because they're spending 60, 70, 80 hours on the street. And you see, the way it works is this too. So, you get a homicide suspect that's hard to find, very difficult to find, and you have to find them. And you spend a month working crazy hours. Somebody gets calls you, oh, let's go. Middle of the night, right? Thank you, Larry. You earned to sit at home in your slippers and robe and eat bonbons for at least a couple days a week. Right. Again, we give a lot of hours to the government in law enforcement. Not everybody, but I know I did. I was just appalled at what had happened. Again, when I realized what they had done to me. And it was worse than a setup. Right. It was spycraft. Right. Thank you, Lurch. And then, of course, they never stopped. Thank you, Larry. That was a judge. At least I think it was that. Or somebody, a future judge. Or an inside judge, you see? I'm an inside judge. That's how some of this happens. Right? Never been a judge, but I will never be a physical judge, on this planet. Right? But I'm inside judge, so I have the power to judge. And I'm not judging, I'm just helping you. Right? But I'm connected to judges. Thank you. No, I'm a metaphysical judge. I mean, that exists. Thank you, Lurch. I help them with cases. Yeah, and I speak for them sometimes, like this. And I'm not an official spokesman. I just gotta clarify that, right? So no matter what you do, you have 2 Supreme Court votes. Not going to get you very far. Right. Because I mean, I'm trying to wake you up to the reality. Well, the court can't bring a case to itself. So again, the Biden things are just, they'd like to rule on that. And they don't want to hurt people. But the fact is, the everyday person has to go through a certain thing. Right. So what's coming is you have clicks, and you're taking care of your clique. And the judges know that. And that's all you're doing, really. Right. So Biden took care of his clique. Trump's taking care of his clique. And I don't even know if he's taking care of his clique. Some of the stuff you're all doing is really self-destructive. Agreed, sir. A lot of your cases have to go in front of D.C. judges. Well, if the House and Senate wants to impeach them for simply doing their job, right. Wouldn't want to be the House and the Senate, right? You're not going to be able to impeach that many judges. Right. There's cases every day being brought against the House and the Senate, against senators, against Congress people. Right. Slap, slap. That's how you do it, man. I've been telling you about judges before. Right. I don't think you pushed them to that point, but I think you did now. Right. Yeah, preemptory pardons might be an issue with those. Well, because you okay, let's say it's all honest. Right. It's still not. It's not law. I don't think it's lawful, or it's not constitutional. Because you're essentially saying, I mean, if I'm a judge, you believe this person committed a crime, don't you? That's why you pardon them. But that's not how it works. Okay, if they're being unlawfully prosecuted, they bring a case later. Right? They can even do it even while they're being investigated. No, I don't think they can. Can they? Do they have standing? Yeah, I guess retaliation. They would have standing, right, through the office, possibly the Office of Special Counsel, possibly other places. Right. So there is there's already a remediation, a fix, I'm not the word I'm looking for, a remedy, right? There's already a remedy, and they petition the court to say, hey, this is retaliation. Right. Thank you, Larry. Well, because what you're doing is what Biden did is he's trying to stop any investigation of these people. Right. And I guess it doesn't really stop investigation, it just stops prosecution, but still. Well, especially because it's people in government or around the government circle and around the government family. So what that says is we're going to use pardon to cover our crimes. So when they do that, that's outside of the framework of the Constitution. Good morning. How you doing, brother? Good morning. How are you? It's going to be like the last warm day. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful today. Hey, have a great day. You too. Be safe, brother. Thank you, Larry. Now, initially, the J6 pardons, although I'm sure they had trouble with the way it was done, right? And I'm not telling you not to pardon anybody, because you might find when you review it that everybody deserves a pardon. But you didn't do that. So that doesn't, that alone is only a certain level of concern. Because this gets back to almost where Biden was, but in a different way. So then Bove goes in there, and it appears that, again, a judge is not going to say that you're not retaliating. I'm just telling you. It boggles the mind. I'm sure judges will say it boggles the mind what they're doing. So you haven't fired anybody from J6, I think, or maybe I'm wrong, or the FBI at least. So that's not there, but you've still asked for the names. So that's a specter of retaliation. Because now you know everybody that, again, you're Bove, you're Trump's attorney. You sat across the table from them in court. I mean, that makes it even worse. Or across the courtroom from them. Right. You're Trump's personal attorney. That's who you are. I know you're in the Justice Department. But nothing's going on, right? Well, I'm just telling you, you're making these people that you want to fire golden. I can't believe he worked in the government before. Right? No, they don't have a worry in the world. Anybody that Bove is moving on right now doesn't have a worry in the world. They're either going to get money, or they're going to get money and get reemployment rights. I mean, you've already asked for their names. You just screwed up. Because you can get their names in another way later on. That's how everybody else does it. But I don't recommend it. That's a large number, right? But that just shows you the ludicrocracy of it all. It's ludicrous. Right? These people are just assigned cases. Now what's going to happen is the judge can say, okay, I want the Trump cases brought before me here. You bring the Trump case before me and you present it. Not a full-blown trial, but present this case. Or they get their attorneys could say, Your Honor, we want to present the case. Because we want to walk you through, reasonable suspicion, probable cause, preponderance of the evidence, reasonable doubt. I'm just telling you. So what's going to happen? We're going to sit through the Trump trials again. Or at least mini trials. We're actually going to go further than we went before. So all these things that Judge Cannon says nobody can talk about, there's going to be judges that are going to order that into the court because you did something. I tried to explain this to you. Again, I said it in passing. I didn't say it in depth because I had no idea that you would take Trump's personal attorney, put him in the Justice Department, and then retaliate. I had no idea it would be that bad. But it's too late. Every one of those people are now golden. Because generally how they do it, and you can't do this now because you did that, is you go in and you just pick one off one by one. You set them up and you pick them off. Correct. That's how they do it. But you can't do it because you've already went public with all of this retaliation. I mean, maybe this is something you decided back when you were doing project whatever it was, 2025 or 2024, whatever it is. Right. But if you did, somebody set you up. Right. But you may have been brainwashed into doing this by like double agents that were sitting in your stuff. I've told you, deep state's a nasty son of a gun. So you may have been predisposed to commit crimes against government employees. because there's a way to do it and a way not to do it, and you did it the way not. It's again the way they do it is the way I said it, but all those people are protected now because you already moved on in retaliation. The court's going to find it retaliation, especially the person that did. I mean, Bondi would have been perfect, I guess. I mean, right? I don't think she was an attorney in one thing, but nothing to do with it. I think the FBI or she was the impeachment, right? So it's really over. It's just going to take time to play out. Right. There's also they can stop you from doing almost anything in government. Judges. Right. So all they need is somebody to bring something before them. So you might find that you won't be prosecuted for something, but judges may stop it the first day you do it if somebody petitions the court. I have no idea why my package is moving this slow. Although they said it has to go to Lenexa now, that it wasn't at the right place. So sometimes FedEx and UPS have separate routes, and I was thinking of the FedEx route. But it still looks. I mean, it shouldn't deliver Wednesday. It doesn't make any sense, right? Unless somebody's trying to screw with me. I upgraded the shipping. It sped up and then it slowed down again, but it actually got here like Saturday. Right. Usually takes 2 days at the most, to move around, or 3 days. Right. Upgraded the shipping and everything. Wow, it's chilly out here. Wind picked up. Buy him a t-shirt. Thank you. Well, I recommend coming, just, agree to disagree and get forward of it so we can focus on the operational missions. Right. There's no reason to encumber everybody. Right. How you doing? Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Well, because you're going to be in this big battle and you're not going to get it. It's, again, metaphysics, you only have so much power. Right. See, now you have to use your power to administer the government, your programs. When you're running for office, Biden had to do that. Right. No, I don't think the Biden pardons will fly if you take it to gets to the Supreme Court and all that. Right. Because again, that's the president. I was leaving my screen there. So all those FBI agents and all those Justice Department people actually have a lot of immunity, especially, related to their job. So even when you investigate them, there's only so much you can do. Well, because the judges in the Senate and the House and everybody knew that this was necessary to have that kind of immunity. I mean, look what they're doing. Retaliation. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have you're caused to think that something was more powerful than it was. And let's get away from Trump's immunity and that kind and pardons for a second. Like, oh, but we have evidence that Jack Smith went to the White House. Okay. Right. Not a crime. And then when he tells you what he did there, judge will say not a crime. Like that kind of stuff is just fluff. Right. There's a case. And that case is what's going to define whether the agents did their job or not. And of course, I'm sure they dotted their I's and crossed their T's. I'm just trying to tell you, it's always going to get back to the case. Every time you try to put it on them, they're going to point to the case, the assignment and the case. But then that's going to go back on Trump, you see? I mean, you may push the buttons enough where a judge actually has a finding in a federal court that Trump, the probability is, the preponderance of the evidence is that Trump would have been found guilty. That, a reasonable jury of his peers would have found him guilty. I mean, I'm just telling you that you don't want to go down that road because it doesn't exist where you think it does. I mean, that's all he has to do. Judge, because the judge might get fed up. And just simply say, look, this is the truth. I'm a judge. And that's a case. And that's a defendant. And that's a prosecutor. And these are the agents. Now we're going to tell you how that would have ended. I'm just telling you not to do it. I told you not to go with the gangs before. I was right. Don't go with this. Something in here. Okay, if you watch, I go outside and I come in. Again, it might be metaphysical, but it could be physical. Anyway. So I came inside. There's something different inside. I noted that in Amarillo. Again, when you got people like Elon Musk, he could be deep state. He could build anything. Right. I'm just telling the truth, all of you. Right. But again, it could just be metaphysical and demons and that stuff. Make it there. So again, it's also coming across that Trump's kind of fixated on some things. Again, you spoke about Biden and how his age kind of played into something. I mean, you're saying, well, Trump sat there for 10 minutes and he off script spoke to these people, because I think you already see it. All right. Or see it coming. Right. I mean, when he was talking about the tariffs, he just didn't look 100% well. I'm just telling you. 100%. So what you're doing is what you're all doing is ruining what we can do in the future with the operational missions. May have already affected it by, because now we see an opposition rising. So what I would do is I would just alert National Guard people so they can put rosters together. They can put, people can put their life in order just in case you would need to activate them. Right. Thank you, Larry. Again, you got to be ready to support the police officers. Now, that can get ugly real quick. I brought it before, flash mobs on Election Day. Again, that's kind of it. There it is. Took a little while. All right. Well, there's a lot of things that can be done to manipulate flash mobs so they operationally inhibit us. Right. And the police department and stuff. Right, because they could, if they watch you and you see all those vehicles, they're not on patrol now, right? They weren't on patrol at that point. Well, somebody could have bought several semis through LA with tons of fentanyl and cocaine and cannabis or whatever else they're smuggling at that same moment. Right. So again, if you're in a police department right now, and again, if you work for somebody who's not pro-immigration, is protecting the undocumented immigrant, you probably may not be allowed to do this. But what you have to do is you have to look at your staffing, and you have to say, I have to dedicate this much to that crowd control effort. And this is all I have left. If you can't patrol sufficiently in the manner that I'm speaking about, like they can get drugs through, that kind of thing, because they can time it. Again, who do you think's probably funding that? The coyotes and the cartels, So if they move at a certain time while they're moving narcotics or moving even semis full of people, right? And you don't have enough people left over to actually stop all that and do your normal kind of traffic stops, right? Which I don't know what your policy is anyway on those. Then you probably need to contact the federal government. I don't know if the mayor would let you do that in some of those cities. But if you can do that, you could tell them, look, we're going to need, if this happens here or if it happens again here, we're going to need some support. Right. So it doesn't have to be DOD, because we got other people too, but they're on the task forces. So again, it might have to be DOD or National Guard. Right. Well, I don't know what mission you're going to hand them. It would probably be crowd control. Right. And again, the best people for that is military police. Right. But I don't know who. Well, we went with active duty. Right. Okay, there's funding issues, I guess, at this point. Thank you, there. Well, the National Guard only has so much money. Right. The full-time, the active military has actually people that are on duty all day. And sometimes you have to make work, right? But they have to be available. You can't just get rid of your military, right? So again, they're easy to shift to the real world mission, but you might run out of that. I guess there's a lot of MPs left, right? And then you also have other people that might be like the military intelligence analysts might be able to pick up some work, or who knows? I mean, I don't know what you're doing in your police departments where you can free up police officers, maybe. Like answering, I guess it can answer. I know now you've got this, there's specific training. I think dispatch and answering phones, that's a specific training. Could, unless they were trained in it. Well, that's the point. You know, you can't fixate on crowd control completely because that's when the narcos could smuggle a bunch of stuff while you're fixated on that. Right. Bakery, sir. Now, my sinuses were horrible last night. I don't know if I have an infection or what. Like now I feel kind of okay, not 100%. Right. Well, I got to figure this out. I'm gonna like stop it here and then come back online. Well, stay peaceful.